Hello and welcome to this monetary policy special. I'm Lata Venkatesh. The Reserve Bank expectedly kept policy rates unchanged and promised to remain accommodative as long as necessary to revive and sustain growth. There was an addition. Usually it is sustain growth, but this time it's revive and sustain growth. It cut the FY22 GDP forecast by 1 percentage point. It was 10.5, it's come to 9.5. It increased the inflation forecast by about 20 to 30 basis points for the coming quarters, for Q2, Q3 and Q4. It also promised to buy 1.2 lakh crore worth of government bonds in the second quarter, the quarter starting July 1st. The Reserve Bank did a little more for MSMEs, small companies. It has allowed banks to restructure loans up to 50 crore. A month ago, it allowed them to restructure only loans up to 25 crore. Now it's 50 crore. It has also given banks or bankers some SOPs if they lend to contact-based sectors like spas, salons, restaurants. They will be able to earn a little more in the idle money that they keep with Reserve Bank. It has also handed out another check of 16,500 crores to SIDBI, which can refinance loans that banks lend to MSMEs. Well, that's the set of steps. What does all this mean? What does it mean for inflation and growth for the real economy as well? The key questions we are asking today is, will banks lend more money to the bottom of the pyramid because of this policy? Can low rates really entice companies to borrow more and kickstart growth? Third question, is the Reserve Bank sounding too dovish? Given the global commodity inflation, especially crude inflation, we are all paying 101 rupees for petrol, remember? And finally, when will Reserve Bank begin to have a more normal money market where money is not sloshing around in trillions of rupees on a daily basis? To answer all these questions, I have an eminent panel. I have Pranjul Bhandari, the Chief Economist at HSBC, B. Prasanna, Head Global Markets Group at ICICI Bank, Rajkiran Rai, Managing Director and CEO of Union Bank of India and the Chairman of the Indian Banks Association. So he speaks for a lot of bankers. And Ashwini Kumar Tiwari, the Managing Director, International Banking at SBI, the country's biggest bank, 1/3 of India's banking sector. So it's a very eminent panel. All of you, thank you very much indeed for sparing time for us. Well, a monetary policy is all about controlling inflation. That's the MPC's mandate. So let me start with you, Pranjul, on that. Have they underestimated inflation? Is it going to be just about 10 basis points more than what they said? Will the average around 5.1, you think?
Well, I'm glad you started with that, because it seems like the RBI has done something for everybody except its inflation target. And we've sort of seen that for the last several quarters. It was understandable, because we've had a growth shock. There's a big problem. Growth has to be revived. But at some point, you have to acknowledge that CPI inflation has been above target for 19 consecutive months. And at some point, that can become a problem. I do think, I acknowledge the fact that they've increased their inflation projections, but my worry is that it's a bit too marginal. Even in terms of commentary, they think that the demand side pressures will be low, but I think they're underestimating supply side pressures on inflation. Once vaccination rates reach critical mass, many more people are ready to consume more goods and services. Producers will start passing on a lot more input price increases to consumer prices, and then we'll see core inflation rise. I'm worried that will happen in second half. The other problem is, a very more macro problem. We are in a country that hasn't been investing too much for the last 10 years. Investment rate has just been falling. Suddenly, if there's an increase in demand, particularly services, it can become inflationary very quickly. So, I think at some point, the RBI should have a clear thinking and move towards its inflation target and start doing more for that.
Okay. Well, I'll come to you back for more on that, because it is a worry. I mean, global commodity prices and US inflation, all of them are pointing to higher than expected inflation numbers. So will we have the luxury of ignoring inflation for too long? But let me now come to the cost of capital itself. Prasanna, to you. Of course, bond yields have risen a little after the policy, but that could be simply because people are worrying about how the non-farm payroll numbers will come. what's your view? Can we remain at 6% for a 10-year and 5.58 to be precise for 5-year for a goodish bit? I mean, for the rest of 2021?
No, that's a tall ask, Lata, to give a view for the entire of 2021. But I can say that based on the RBI's conduct over the last 2, 3, 4 months and the way they have been preventing bond yields from going up, I think it's a safe call to say that based on this policy and based on the comfort level that we have over the way they have acted over the last few months, that probably the 10-year bond yields will be within the range of 590 to 610 kind of a range. So, I mean, you need to note that there are a couple of things that have happened in the policy today. The GSAP number, as you all know, was actually a little higher than the first quarter number. But having said that, it was a little less than what the market was expecting. Market was expecting somewhere in the region of 1.25 to 1.5 lakh crores. And there are a lot of other things. I mean, you saw the governor also emphatically saying that they will be not only using GSAP, but also using Operation Twist and also using the screen-based buying that they have been doing. So a lot of tools are available for the RBI, have been available. They have used all of that very wisely over the last few months. So I think they would possibly going to do more of all of that going forward also. One policy disappointment, however, was the fact that they did not do any announcement on the euro clearability of the bond, because that would have actually, along with index inclusion, if that comes in, that can be a big tailwind for bonds. So all in all, a kind of a lukewarm policy as far as bond markets are concerned, and the range would be 590 to 610. And like you rightly said, towards the end, I think the sell-off in bonds as well as swaps went up primarily because of people lightening their position ahead of the NFP number, which is out in the US today.
Okay. Well, I'm coming back to have really more questions on bonds and especially forward premium, which I thought was skimmed over by the Reserve Bank, but that's a matter of detail. The bigger intent, both of the government and the Reserve Bank, has been to help the bottom of the pyramid. Not so much fiscal stimulus as much as really social net. Mr. Rajkiran, right, that straight away. You know, the Indian Banks Association also, I think, made some of these requests to the Reserve Bank that, you know, some help for contact-based sectors. Do you think money will go there?
See, actually, there is not much credit demand as such now, because these businesses are yet to open up. So at this point of time, I don't see that high credit absorption straight away. But you need to understand the intent. So the RBI is creating a space for banks to lend and making it more attractive. So as the demand picks up, as the economy opens up, I think this sector will need credit and banks will be ready to do it. But again, see, this sector has suffered a lot. So now how they will come into fit our norms of credit is something which is a challenge in front of us, because like last time lockdown itself, they were severely impacted. Again, this lockdown, again, you know, this sector is suffering. So whether they will be bankable at this point of time, many of these sectors we have to see. But then there are good borrowers who need support, and banks will definitely go out and do credit wherever they're fitting into the credit norms.
Okay. Well, some of them may be already asking for money, no, sir. You know, banks can provide fresh lending support to hotels, restaurants, tourism, travel agents, tour operators, heritage facilities, aviation, ancillary services, ground handling and supply chain, private bus operators, car repair service, rent-a-car service. Some of them will be needing, but my real fear is whether banks will be more worried about the credit cost, provisioning, NPAs, and not be attracted by this 25 basis more that you will get in reverse repo. Do you think banks, or even NBFCs for that matter, because it includes both, you think people will lend?
No, definitely there are borrowers with us where we are lending even now. Actually, there are good borrowers where there are good collateral covers and like people who are sustaining themselves, we are supporting them. But then if you are looking at a very big push at this sector, it will take some time, because when the economy opens up and the cash flows are back to normalcy, then the lending will pick up. So this is somewhere, to start these businesses, they need capital. That is where the ECLGS last time helped them, that 20%. Yes. So now this time that 10% additional is there. So that should kickstart the operations, and as they stabilize, the further credit will come. So what Reserve Bank is trying to hint is that support this sector. So
Yes.
banks will be more than willing, but then again we will follow our
Credit standards.
norms. It is not that just because there is a 40 basis incentive, you will go and lend, but then definitely this sector needs support, and banks are more than willing to do that.
What's your sense, Mr. Tiwari? Bottom of the pyramid lending, as well as generally, I mean, ultimately, what is the purpose of pushing 5 lakh crore, 6 lakh crore on a daily basis, banks sitting on excess cash and giving it to the Reserve Bank? Do you think all this is going to improve credit growth? Where are we? We are at, the lowest. If you take away demonetization, loan growth is at the lowest since I think I started reporting, early 2000s maybe. Do you see credit growth coming to double digits at all?
Yeah, so Lata, let's distinguish between the overall credit growth and the segments within those credit growth. So retail has been doing well. Last year also we grew at 16-17%. So therefore growth is happening. But yes, on the large corporate side, the growth is not okay. And we also had a very flattish kind of growth in the last corporate segment. On the MSMEs, last year we grew largely because of the ECGLS, which was a very good scheme because it was a broad brush scheme and did help us to not worry about the credit quality and lend, which is what we did. So as Mr. Rai was saying, actually some of that ECGLS is more of a comfort to us, because the differential margin we might get of 30-40 basis points will not actually be such a determinant for us to lend if the asset quality is suspect. Having said that, as Mr. Rai was saying, one, there are good borrowers in each of these segments. It's a very large set of segments which is there. So while they are contact intensive and hence clubbed together, as the economy opens up, there are certain segments among them which will come back very, very quickly. They just need a little bit of a support. There may be a deferral of installments which is allowed by the Reserve Bank's scheme could be enough for them. There are others who would need support in terms of additional funding, etc. So there will be a difference opinion. But one thing is also there that any of such targeted scheme helps the banks to actually focus on these segments, like it has happened with the health segment. While we were already funding many of the health borrowers, but after the scheme which came out for the health borrowers, we have targeted towards them, and we have started to look very carefully at that book. So therefore, similarly for these segments also, I do guess that we will frame specific strategies which may involve funding as a large part, but other things as well.
Okay, so some sectors will benefit, but both of you are giving me the impression, you bankers, that Reserve Bank has taken the horse to the water. That is not any guarantee that the horse is going to drink it. Will growth come? That is the question. And on that will depend whether RBI will be able to normalize. So let me leave you with that key bite, which the governor said. When will you normalize? Here's what he said, and more questions on this aspect. When will growth return? And when will RBI be able to normalize monetary policy? All those questions to my guests after the break. Welcome back. For the better part of 18 months, the Reserve Bank has kept a whole lot of money in the interbank system. Banks have excess cash and they simply go and give it to the Reserve Bank on a daily basis for as low as 3.35%. How long can monetary conditions be so abnormal? How can money be so cheap that State Bank pays you all of 2.75% for your savings bank account when inflation is running at least at 5%? That question to my guests. I've been speaking with Pranjul Bhandari, B. Prasanna, Rajkiran Rai and Ashwini Tiwari, the Managing Director of State Bank. Well, Prasanna, that is the question to you. When will the first reverse repo rate hike come? I would assume first the Reserve Bank will say, I'm paying you a little more to the banks, and then perhaps a repo hike. When do you see that?
So, Lata, before directly answering that question, if you have to really look at the 2 or 3 things. First is the stance. Now, they have retained the stance, which basically says that they'll keep it accommodative as long as it is necessary. And like you rightly pointed, they've actually slightly tweaked the language this time by actually including the word reviving and sustaining, which kind of gives it a more dovish flavor. Second, when you look at inflation, they've actually, you saw Dr. Patra's comments post-policy, clearly saying that we will look through any higher inflation. And third is they have clearly now read on growth and they have actually downgraded growth expectations. Now, all this kind of gives it a dovish flavor as we speak right now. But however, it doesn't really make a major difference on where we thought RBI will lift off or where they will start normalizing from what we expected earlier. Governor's comment on it's even premature to even talk about it is also very important. But having said all, two things are, I think, very important from our perspective. One is from a domestic side. I think now the goalpost is clearly the band of 2 to 6%. I think the governor has consistently been saying that inflation is well below that band of 2 to 6, within the band of 2 to 6. He's not talking about the 4% target anymore. So as long as inflation goes above 6, doesn't go above 6, I think accommodative might possibly continue. But the second more important is what happens on the global arena. Two things on the global side, which can actually, hasten the normalization is one is the Fed talking about taper much sooner than what we all expected. And the second is, forget the Fed. What about the markets? Is the bond market throwing some tantrum and our bond yield going to go up? I think these are the two things which can potentially change the trajectory. As of now, we believe that the Fed's taper is possibly going to start only in the first quarter of the calendar year. And an announcement to that effect will happen in the last quarter of this calendar year, with possibly a hint happening in the next month's Jackson Hole conference.
Okay.
With that basic premise, we expect the first reverse repo hike to happen in the fourth quarter of this financial year, as far as RBI is concerned.
Okay.
Having said that, two important things I'll just briefly touch upon. The broad macro construct this policy, I think, is forget rates. They actually want to keep yields in control. They want to prevent yields from going up. I think the focus on yield curve and everything else is clearly showing. And the second is possibly we're moving towards a more aggressive exchange rate management and possibly a more aggressive forward premium management. Maybe I don't know whether I'm reading too much into what the governor or the deputy governor say or delay, but it's quite possible that they are looking at reserves itself as a parameter to manage as we go forward, as that can potentially give them a little bit of cushion to weather the taper storm if it were to happen.
Okay, so they are actively building up reserves so that if and when the taper comes, they have more elbow room, right?
That's right, Lata. I think, okay. I mean, that's one way to look at it. And of course, other thing is on forward premium, which you briefly mentioned. If we have time, we can talk about
I'll come back to that if I have time. I agree with you. That'll take a while. Pranjul, do you really, will we even manage 9.5% growth? I have a lot of sympathy for Mr. Rai and Ashwini Tiwari. You can lend only when you have bankable projects and when people have the appetite to borrow. That comes only when, credit demand follows growth. It doesn't precede growth. So you see that growth materializing.
Look, as we've seen around the world, I think the answer lies in vaccination rates. As soon as we can get that up, have a critical mass of people vaccinated, there'll be confidence to go out and spend, people consuming goods, consuming services.
So not fiscal policy, not monetary policy, health policy.
Yeah, I think health policy first. And then, of course, fiscal policy along with it too, because this time in the second wave, the pandemic has reached rural India far more than it had reached last year. But my own sense is that, first half of the fiscal year is going to have weak growth. My own forecast is minus 9%. Quarter on quarter. Look, I'm talking quarter on quarter because year on year has a lot of base effect issues. Second half of the year, by when we are expecting that 50% of the population are vaccinated, we are forecasting plus 19% quarter on quarter growth. So a huge jump. And with that, everything will come. For example, even higher core inflation will come because demand will go up. And I think that's when if the RBI delays with policy normalization, then a lot of the inflation pressures could get entrenched and last for very long.
To be very nimble at the latter part of the year. I take your point. But, one point which we are not discussing because we have forgotten it, Mr. Rai, is NPA over and done with? Second surge. Do you think it can rear its head again?
Can you repeat your question?
NPA, sir. NPA, bad loans. We are acting as if it's a problem that is over. Is it really over?
No, actually, we may see some spike in NPAs in the first quarter because, what we saw in the last year, January, February, March, the collections improved substantially, sanctions improved substantially. But then April, we saw again dip, and May is a challenging month. So June is slowly opening up. So we can see some spike in NPA in the first quarter. But then it may not be that big to worry as of now. So if June continues to be a bad month, then we may have a problem. But then we are seeing already numbers coming down and like everything opening up.
Okay.
So by end of June, if the system opens up at least to 60-70% level, I don't think we'll have a major NPA problem.
Okay, actually, I guess MSMEs and SMEs are not a large part. This time around, you don't have steel and power and infrastructure likely to default. So perhaps, therefore, no one's talking about it. Mr. Tiwari, really, as Pranjul says, the big demand will come perhaps in the second half along with the festive season. You think we will get to double-digit growth in the second half? Credit growth, I mean credit growth.
Yeah. So see, the point is, as Pranjul said, the most important thing currently is the health part, which is the vaccination. If that proceeds properly, and if our supposed third wave or whatever wave after that is controlled and doesn't become as virulent as the second wave, I think we are on to a double-digit growth. Now, even in current times, while we have this challenge of finding, as you said, bankable projects, and the large corporates are really not investing much. So therefore, even in MSME space and others, there are models which are being evolved as we speak. So the digital models, which is transaction-based lending, though small in nature but aggregates up to a large amount, those are the models we are examining as we speak. So it's not that we are just sitting and just depositing it with the RBI and earning the reverse repo. That's not it.
Yeah.
So therefore, currently, yes, there is a little bit of a stress in the system, and which is hopefully temporary. And as we get ahead of this, the wave is already dying. I'm sure that the NPL problems will be contained much better than what it was earlier. And with the restructuring and with the ECJLS and all, I think we'll be able to control this as it stands now.
Okay. Prasanna, I mean, if I can toss this out of the blue, the Forex question to you, or forward premier question to you. I really don't know how to understand it. Is it that Reserve Bank and even banks try to push more dollars into the forward premier? We hear that foreign banks also have this LEF problem with their principals, and so they also want to push a lot of dollars into the forward market. RBI wants to push it because they want to pay a larger dividend, keep their balance sheet under control. But how are you looking at forward premier?
So Lata, instead of getting into the technicalities, let me just say that the challenges faced by India is very similar to the challenge which any emerging market is facing right now. And that is, you have an appreciating currency when your growth is actually coming down. And that's happening because when growth is coming down, your imports is coming down, and hence your current account deficit is actually getting better, less negative. And because of the dollar weakness, capital flows are happening into the country. So the demand and supply for INR is actually getting better. However, RBI will have to look at managing the competitiveness of the currency. So they actually intervene in this spot market to buy dollars. But when they do that, they infuse liquidity. And since there is so much of liquidity which is already used, they have to sterilize that liquidity.
Yes.
When they sterilize that, what do they do to sterilize that liquidity is to postpone the liquidity by doing sell by swap. So say sell dollars and buy dollars in the forward market, which is equivalent of paying forward. And when they do that, that makes the forward rates go up. And this is what has been happening over the last 6 months. And when forward rates have been kept higher consistently for the last 6 months or so, what it has done is it has encouraged local ALMs to actually convert their INR liquidity to deploy in the forward market. And it has also discouraged foreign portfolio investors from buying local bonds because they can earn the carry by simply receiving in the forward market. Now, last few days, this action of the Reserve Bank seems to have changed. I don't know if it's a one-off. We need to see whether they are going to do it over the next 1 week or so also. They have not been paying in the last few days. They are actually receiving in the forward market, which actually also means that they are taking delivery of all words outstanding that they had in the forward book, which is actually down by $7 billion. I don't know whether I've already become a little technical. But that has resulted in the fall in 100 basis points in the forward premium. Now, what this fall does is, I'll just quickly finish. What this fall does is it actually encourages the foreign portfolio investors to look at investing in bonds. So the combination of index inclusion, lower forward premia, and clearability when it comes can actually be a good tailwind for bonds. And from a very conceptual perspective, I think the correction of this anomaly, that is the convergence of onshore rates and the implied rates, is actually a good thing, because what it was doing is it agitating against the low and dovish accommodative policy that RBI was having on the onshore market. So that's the long and short of the forward thing. So it's come down from 5.5 to 4.5. We'll have to see whether it continues to be there.
Okay, we should meet again and speak about forward premia itself with a bunch of experts like you and help us understand. But it does look like the Reserve Bank is taking a bet that it will be able to keep rates low till everyone is vaccinated and growth returns. And with a little bit of luck from the global markets, it should succeed. It's got too many pulls and pushes, and I think it has walked a narrow path excellently. All the very best to the Reserve Bank. Thank you very much, Prasanna, Mr. Rai, Mr. Tiwari and Pranjan.